Welcome everyone back to another Dragalia Lost video. My name is D-Freezy. Here today we are going to cover some of the units that you guys want to kind of put a spotlight on when it comes to the event. Now, I was very busy over the weekend. I planned on publishing a full-on guide. Just couldn't get around to it, but I'm assuming that a lot of people have been playing the event thus far and have already kind of figured out the teams that they want to use or like how they're going to grind the event, etc., etc. So we're going to mainly stick to some of the units maybe you didn't consider, maybe you weren't aware of. Now, just like the event a couple of events ago, this event is just like that one in it, that it really wants you to stick to just one type of unit, right? One color, if you will. So for this one, it wants you to stick to wind-attuned adventurers and wind-attuned dragons and stuff like that for different stages and just for a little bit of a bonus. So since that's the case, we are going to again mainly cover wind units. As you guys see here, these are all of the ones currently in the game right now. Now, first thing I want to say is if you guys watched my summer video a few days ago, huge shout out to Maribel. At the time, hadn't covered the unit, excuse me, at all. Haven't reviewed the unit in any way, shape, or form. Didn't realize how phenomenal she was. Typically, as a collector, I'm mainly going to go until I get the main unit, which I did wind up doing off camera. I did pull until I got Louise. But of course, Maribel is one of the best units in the game, in my opinion. As after using her, like, I feel like she's a phenomenal unit. So huge shout out to her. So if you have her, obviously you want to make sure you use her. Louise and Hawk are the other two 5-star green units. They both use bows. A lot of people are not big fans of bow users. I don't really have a problem with them too much, but their playstyle is eh. So nonetheless, there's still a couple of the more powerful units. So if you have them, use them. So let's go ahead and cover a few other things. I want to start off by going over the dragons really quickly, because dragons are really kind of hit or miss. It just depends on what you're really going for. But a lot of times I'm going to recommend that you guys use dragons that have powerful abilities like this to strength boost. So right here, this unit is increasing wind-attuned adventurers' attack by 40% or strength up to 60%. So that being said, if you have these types of units that offer very powerful strength increases, go for that. There are dragons that offer HP and strength or just HP, things like that. But the general consensus for the most part is that in this game, I guess unless it's Phoenix, you probably just want dragons that offer that type of boost, which leads me over to Rock, or Roke, however you pronounce it. Very powerful, offers 30% naturally. Then level 2 is 45, which I believe is whenever he's maxed limb broken. So otherwise, 30% still really good. Deals one hitter 524.3% wind damage to the surrounding enemies, which is very good. And inflicts stun for 2 to 4 seconds with a 100% 20 base chance. So almost always going to stun for a few seconds. So just a little bit more usability there. Very powerful for the user. So if you have this dragon, you want to go for it. Of course, the new summonable dragon is good. The issue with that one is, like I said, and I don't want to make it off as an issue because it's just general consensus of a lot of people I've seen talking about it in Discord, Reddit, etc. They mainly want the dragons that have the DPS, but these types of dragons, in my opinion, that offer like HP or like a combination of HP and strength are really good on units that just need a little bit more survivability, probably like a healer or something like that, or maybe you want to give the healer more of an offensive dragon so they can actually output damage better, things like that. That's kind of the way I play, but again, up to you guys. So the 4-star dragons are pretty good nonetheless. If you guys have Midgard, I can't pronounce his name. If you have the high one, go for it as well. If you have Sylvia from the previous event, of course you want to use that. I know a lot of people won't have Zephyr because I don't believe this unit has ever even been featured. So there's that. Garuda, if you have that unit on the new banner, go for it. Streebog, I don't know, is the equivalent to the other dragon, Rock, but only is for HP, unfortunately. So a little bit of what I talked about there, but he does 3 hits of 226% wind damage to surrounding enemies and draws them towards the user. Now, drawing them towards the user is actually very good with certain types of skills, because there are skills that only have a close range or just have very weird usability. So keep that in mind as well. So that being said, let's move on to some of the adventures that I wanted to highlight. So again, I'm not really going to cover the 3 stars. 3 stars are usable. They're very good in certain scenarios. Particular ones are better than others. But whenever they get promoted, of course, they get a little bit more akin to a 4-star. And 4 stars are good in this game. So we're going to cover the 4 stars. The first one is the brand new summonable Loen. I'll probably pronounce some of the names wrong. Sorry if it's cringe, but it is what it is. Anyways, this is in the healing unit. So a couple of things to note for this unit is that he is very good at healing. And he also has a very high recovery potency. Like, he has a lot of different abilities that just stack high recovery potency. So he's very good at that, right? So when we scroll down, we take a look at him. Winds Heal Us offers up to, this is where it starts, a 108% recovery potency bonus while also restoring HP to all teammates. Now, from level 2 and beyond, he removes bog. So if you guys play the event, you know that there are a lot of bog tiles on the event that'll, of course, inflict that on your units, right? But a cool thing about a lot of the green units is they do actually have bog resistance, so that's cool too. Up to 100% chance, you know, or 50% naturally at level 1. So maybe you don't have a huge issue with that, but nonetheless, it's an added bonus. Now, a key thing to know about this unit is they have been updating the AI to where the AI is just not like as stagnant. They actually use skills, they actually move, stuff like that. They're more usable. But this one apparently has a bug where he will not use his skills for the most part. So you might have to switch to him. You probably will to actually trigger the heal. So if you're using him and you didn't know that, yeah, you probably want to, you know, take note of that. Anyways, moving on. His second skill, Winds Protect Us. Increase the entire team's defense by up to 20% for 15 seconds and increases each adventurer's max HP by up to 10% for the remainder of the quest. Once HP buffs reach the limit, the HP recovery effect is granted instead. So, of course, the reason I say up to is because at level 1 it's 15 and 5. So, adding to your defense and HP, just make sure your units just have a lot more survivability. So he's very good in that, you know, general bubble. And then, of course, co-ability for recovery potency. Has an ability down here for recovery potency, 8%, and then up to 14% here for the co-ability, starting at 6. And then, again, like I said, Winds Heal Us, recovery potency bonus. There are also worm prints you can give him, more recovery potency. He's a very potent healer. He's very good. So, again, make sure you use him. Anyways, we're going to move on to one of the characters that is free to play from the story. Ranzal, I don't know. Anyways, defensive unit. Now, like I said earlier, a lot of people tend to gravitate more towards DPS units, but I will put some respect on this man's name because Stormwall is very good. Also, Tornado Bash has very high usability. So, up to 4 hits of 285% wind damage to surrounding enemies and draws them towards the user. I talked about how that's a good mechanic, just depending on the other units you are using, because there are some units that'll only do like surrounding area or like straight forward or like weird things like that. So only for half a second isn't great, but still just moving them into place, considering that they have to move out of place again, is good. Anyways, moving on. Stormwall grants all teammates a one-hit shield that nullifies damage less than 30% of their maximum HP. So it's not gonna like grant that one hit against those super like one-hit moves. Like, for example, some of the Dragon Trials, whenever you get towards the harder stages, they do like skills that might like one-shot your team or weird things like that. This isn't going to do that. It's not going to block that out. But most of the attacks in the game, from what I've experienced so far, it'll block out. So very good ability. Anyways, co-ability boosts defense. He has Slayer Strength, Bog Resistance, and Last Defense, which buffs his defense by 50% for 15 seconds when HP drops to 30%. So again, free to play it from the story. Everyone should have this unit, so if you have him, consider using him. He does decent damage. Not the best, most damaging unit by any means, but decent damage, and also a very good wall. So keep that in mind. Anyways, we have Eleanor, I don't know. All right, so moving on. She is an attack type unit. Unfortunately, again, according to a lot of people, I don't feel this. I don't share the same sentiment. I do understand, but I don't share the same sentiment. She is another bow user, typically the thing with wind types. Anyways, she's a DPS class. Moving on, Viper Bolt. So from level 2 and 3, she's able to apply poisons. That's my key thing to note about this unit. She is very good at applying poison. By the way, these are in no particular order, although I do think Musashi and Lowen are probably the best two that you would want to focus on. This is in no particular order. So anyways, from level 2 and 3, she has the ability to apply poison, so deals one shot of 771 percent wind damage to the target and inflicts poison for 15 seconds, dealing 53% damage every 2.9 seconds with a 110% base chance at level 3. And of course that changes. It's about 40 with every 3 seconds with a 100% base chance. Very powerful ability. And then of course when you combine that with her ability down here, she's just going to do a lot of poison. Same applies to the Vendetta Arrow. At level 1 it does nothing, it's just normal damage, but it does apply poison here. Skill Haste, very powerful ability just to have in your team in general. Maybe you have somebody else that does it. I think some of the 5-stars do. Anyways, moving on. Bog Resistance and Skill Prep. So Skill Haste and Skill Prep, very good combination to have on a unit. So she's going to be spamming her abilities a little bit. Attack type unit, bow user, she's going to be very powerful. Anyways, moving on. Eileen, if I said that right. Support type unit. So key thing to note about this unit is that she's very good at applying buffs to your team. So she has Valhallen Ballad. So what this does is it increases your team's defense by up to 20% for 15 seconds. That, in conjunction with buff time, increases the duration of the buff skills by 25%. So you'll have a very powerful defensive buff applied. Not to mention, she increases your team's overall HP. She does have a damaging attack that deals one hit of 838% wind damage to the target and enemies near. So not bad as well. Freeze resistance and Slayer strength, decent abilities to have as well. Unfortunately, though, she does not share that bog resist. She actually has freeze resist, so keep that in mind as you play the event. So anyways, we have Musashi here. One of the best 4-star offensive units in the game, actually, in my opinion. Very good. So he has a maximum attack of just over 500, which is pretty respectable. Anyways, moving on. We have Belching Dragon. So it starts off as deals 2 hits of 391% wind damage to the enemies in a line and inflicts poison dealing damage, dealing 28% damage every 3 seconds for 15 seconds with a 90% base chance. Excuse me, 28% every 3 seconds for the 90% chance base. So moving on, that goes all the way up to 53% every 3 seconds with a 110% chance base and 2 hits of 432% wind damage. So over here, increases the user strength by 25% for 5 seconds. Now, this is one of the big reasons why he's a very good offensive force. Now, 5 goes, actually 5 stays here, but the strength increase jumps to 30. Now, 5 seconds isn't that long, right? That's not a very long time, but it is long enough to chain into a few other skills. Well, a couple other skills anyway, right? So he's not bad at all. And he's a sword type user, meaning his playstyle's a little bit different. Very, very, very hard-hitting unit, especially when you consider his co-ability here, increasing strength up to 7%. Last offense, buff strength by 30% for 15 seconds when HP drops low. So this is a scenario where if you drop low on HP, trigger Force of Wind, you're going to be very, very powerful. Also, considering Overdrive Punisher, you can do a lot of damage. He's very good at doing a lot of damage. So that's why I said I think he's one of the better units. And of course, you always need at least one healer on your team for the most part, or like Healing Dragon or something like that. I don't know. But that is pretty much it, everybody. Hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Be sure to subscribe if you're new for more comments and our content, excuse me. But leave in the comments, speaking of which, what team you guys are using. If there's anything I missed, feel free to point it out as well. Anyways, have an awesome day, everyone, and I'll catch all of you in the next one.